Hi and welcome to Keep Written Sewing, and thank you for purchasing the t-shirt pattern. Now this is a fairly easy pattern to make and a great introduction to stretch fabrics. Now inside you have the pattern, of course, and you have your set of instructions and a Keep Written Sewing guide. Now in here there's lots of tips and information about how to sew, for example how to sew darts and how to insert a concealed zip or to sew buttonholes. So it's quite a useful guide to have, so keep it by your sewing machine. Now if you haven't sewn with stretch fabrics much before, then there are some tips on the front of the instructions here. So I'm going to be using a ballpoint needle. Now this needle has a more rounded tip, so it pushes the fabric fibres out the way as it sews, so it makes it a little bit easier. Let me show you one of them. It doesn't look any different than any other needle, but it's very thin needle tip there. If you have needles like this, then that would be ideal. I'm also going to be using a zigzag stitch on my machine rather than a straight stitch because it handles the material a lot better. So let's get on with it. So I've already cut out my pattern pieces. Now there's only 4 pattern pieces in this pattern. So you have the front, number 1, number 2, the back, then you have a sleeve, number 3, 2 sleeves of course, and the neckband, number 4. So we're going to start with sewing the shoulder seams, so we need the front and the back. So put these right sides together and pin in place. And that side. Okay, so that's now pinned in place. So we're going to do a zigzag stitch along the shoulder seam here and here. Okay, so over to my machine and let me set this to zigzag. Place that in the machine, and it's a 1 centimeter seam allowance, and it's already included in the pattern, so you don't have to worry about adding that. So let me line that up, and I'm going to take that first pin out of the way. So you want to narrow your zigzag stitch, so I'm going to bring that down, and don't push or pull the fabric, just guide it through. Now take your time over the stretch fabric, so you don't want to rush it. Go all the way across, then a back stitch at the end. So that's your shoulder seam done. Now we just need to press this, so we just want to open that up there, and we want to press that seam we've just done towards the back. So let me grab my little ironing mat here before I do anything else. So that's the back there, and we just press that like that, and then the other side. Now on the outside you want to do a line of top stitching across that seam, just close to the edge on the back piece, so on the inside it keep those seam allowances down. Place my needle just to the right of that seam. If you want to do a straight stitch here you can, or keep it as a zigzag stitch, which is what I'm doing. So there we go, that's our shoulder seam done and top stitched, and now we move on to the neckband. So now we move on to the neckband. Let me unpin this. Now there are some markings here that need to copy off, so you want to just mark where that fold is there, so you can place that on your neckline. Just going to put a little chalk mark there, and then I'll unpin the rest. So on the neckband piece, move that. You want to fold the neckband, and conveniently it's already folded, in half, right sides together, and then you want to sew along this edge here, the short edge. So again, use a zigzag stitch and a 1 centimeter seam allowance. There we go. So just press that seam open and just run your iron down the center there. Okay. Now you need to fold it, I guess, lengthways, this way. Now this is wrong sides together. So once that's folded over, you need to pin that onto your main body of your t-shirt. So let me grab that piece back. So where you're marking where your center back is, place your seam from your neckband onto that mark and pin in place. So the neckband is facing down towards the back. Pin that in place. Then come around to the front. So on your front, where you've marked the center front, you need to place your neckband where you place that neckband marking. So pin those in place. Again, the neckband is facing down towards the front of the t-shirt. Pin that in place. For the rest of the neckband, just pin in place around that neckline. But you want to ease it in and make sure it's equal all the way around. Pin there. Okay, so now that's all been pinned in place, you're ready to sew that together. So again, zigzag stitch, and it may be easier if you take the arm of your machine off to do this. So just take this one off here, and that makes it easier to slip it in there. So I'm going to start at the seam at the back where we sewn the neckband together. Line it up nicely. Then 1 centimeter seam allowance, and put your foot down. I'm going to remove those pins. Then take your time over this and make sure all your fabric is nice and flat. So I'm going to do a back stitch and then go forward. Gently ease your fabric through, making sure everything's nice and flat. Ensure your edges are all lined up as well, not stretched. That's the neckband in. We can see that that is in like that. It's not too bad. So now we're going to press that seam down towards the body of the t-shirt, and we are then going to top stitch just below where we just sewn that seam, and you can maybe use a wider zigzag just to make it a little bit more decorative. So now we just need to press the seam. So now if you have a tailor's ham, this is where it comes in handy. So I'm going to place that seam onto my tailor's ham and then from the inside I'm going to press that seam down. There we go, and now we're just going to do some top stitching around the outside of the neckband. So just a few millimeters down from where you just sewn that seam together. I'm going to use a zigzag stitch and I'm going to make it a little bit wider so it's a little bit decorative there. So let me go over to my machine. So starting out at the back, place my foot down. I'm just going to change the width of that, so it's on 1 at the moment. I'm going to change it to 2. And then just go around the neckband, top stitching that. Make sure your seam on the inside is still going downwards. Keep your material nice and flat. Bring it over here. See how that looks. Not too bad. So we'll give that another press. Give that a quick press there. So that's your neckband finished. Now we move on to the side seams. So now we come on to the side seams. So turn your t-shirt inside out so that your side seams are right sides together. And then you want to pin all the way down here. And then turn it over and do the other side. So now you've pinned that in place, you want to sew your side seams, so a line of stitching all the way down both sides. We just need to press those seams open now. Okay, and then do the other side. So that's pressed, side seams are in, you can press the outside as well. So it's starting to resemble a t-shirt now. So now we need to put some sleeves in. So moving on to the sleeve, this is pattern piece 3. Now you need to fold this up along this edge here by 1 centimeter and then again by 2 centimeters. Now you can mark your fold lines onto your fabric if you like, or you can use your tape measure. Now at the top of the sleeve you see a triangle. You need to mark this onto your material so you can line that up at the shoulder seam when you come to put your sleeve in. Mark that and pin it. So move that out of the way. So to the wrong side of the fabric, you need to fold up about 1 centimetre and then press. I'll just check that's about 1 centimetre, and then we fold that up 2 centimetres. We go to where the indentation of the sleeve is, so we fold it up to there, and that should be 2 centimetres, and it is. So just press that. Make sure that's correct. That's good. Then we'll just pin that in place. Like that. And then we'll do the same on the other piece. Now we're going to sew a line of stitching along this edge here, about 3 millimeters from this folded edge, all the way along, so it catches that folded edge there in. Trying to keep the fabric nice and flat, not stretching it. Let the machine do all the work, pulling it through. So there's both your sleeves hemmed. Just give that a bit of a press. It may curl up a little bit like it has done here. So give that a press. And the other one. Now with right sides together, you need to fold your sleeve over so the short edges meet, and then pin that in place. And then we'll do a line of stitching along that edge there. So I'm just going to press that seam open. And now we're ready to put our sleeve into our t-shirt. So we're now ready to put the sleeves into the t-shirt. So we need to turn our sleeves the right side out and the t-shirt inside out. And we want to match the mark that was on the sleeve at the top. Where is it? There we are. So we want to place our sleeve inside the sleeve hole, and then the mark that we put on the sleeve we want to match at the shoulder seam. Pin that in place, and then on the bottom we need to match our sleeve seam with our side seam. So pin that in place. And then for the rest of the sleeve, just ease it in. It should all fit in. So just pin all that in place. So once that's all pinned in there, repeat for the other side. Okay, so once you've pinned all that in place, it's time to sew your sleeve into your t-shirt. So come over here. Again, it's a good idea to take your arm off if you can, and then you can slip your sleeve into there. So I'm going to start at the side seam under the arm and work my way round. So foot down, needle down, take the pins out, line up my fabrics, make sure they're all lined up nicely, and then sew around. Make sure your materials are nice and flat. There we go. So that's my sleeves in. Let's check, see what they look like. Let me turn it the right way out. So those aren't too bad. And the same on that side. They're in quite nicely. So now we want to just press that seam towards the sleeve. So give your sleeve a good press there, and then we're ready to move on to the hem. So now we need to move on to the hem. So turn your t-shirt inside out, and at the bottom you want to turn the bottom up by 2 centimeters. Now if you have an overlocker, you could finish the edge off nicely, or you can do a zigzag stitch along the edge to tidy it up. I'm just going to fold it up 2 centimeters. So there. And go all the way around. So once all that's pinned in place, you want to do a line of stitching along the outside, about 2 centimeters up. Now I'm going to use the same zigzag stitch that I used on the neckband, so it matches, and that will catch the fabric on the other side. So turn that right side out, be careful of your pins, and put that into your machine. I'm going to start at one of the side seams, and we want to go 2 centimeters up, place that down. Now I'm going to change that to 2, maybe 2.5 actually. I feel daring. Take that pin out. And be very careful on the hem not to stretch it, because it will go all wobbly. You don't want a wobbly hem. So gently sew that in place. So now we just need to give it a good press. So you can see on the inside it's caught there. Just turn it over, do the other side. And there you go, there's your t-shirt done. Just needs one final press, then it's ready to to wear. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please let us know any of your comments or suggestions down below. Please like the video and share it with others. Until next time, enjoy sewing. Bye.